Hello everyone, my name is Nicholas Light, and welcome back to a very special MCU-only based episode of the podcast today. Sorry for not having anything last week. There was really nothing to talk about other than I think like one piece of news came out, and then this week, the week we're doing our MCU podcast, a whole bunch of news came out, but we're going to save that all for next week, or the following week, we'll see. Anyway, so I'm here with my co-host, Alex. Go ahead and say hi.
We're back.
Yep. We are not joined by a special guest today. Unfortunately, couldn't join us today, but it's cool. It's all good. That's what next week is for. Next week we'll probably have about 2 guests on, if I can get the schedule worked out. But so it'll be like Alex said, the Avengers: Infinity War of this podcast. But let's get right into this, you guys. So very special episode today. MCU based only. We're gonna talk about a little bit of stuff for the Avengers: Infinity War movie, considering it comes out in what? 7 days when we're recording this, but like I think 5 days, 5 days, right? 5 days when or 4 days when we release this episode.
5 days.
Yep, I think 5 days, cause yeah, 5 days. So let's get right into this, you guys. So first, before we get on to our usual business today, I know by the title you already know what we're going to talk about. But we were going to talk about how we were going to reboot the MCU, but me and Alex talked about it earlier, and we came to an agreement that the MCU has done a fantastic job of doing it themselves. So we're going to skip over that, but I'm just going to give my quick thing about it to like tell you guys how I would change it, just because I just want to get everyone's opinions on this, I guess. But for the Phase 1, it's obvious. Phase 1 is just the exact same. The only thing I would probably change is like the Thor movie, where he doesn't, instead of losing his powers, he also loses his memory, similar to what he does in the comic books, up until he finds his hammer. Keep the Hulk the same, but tease the Red Hulk and introduce Black Widow and Hawkeye, and then have a Black Widow and Hawkeye movie where they're both where they both introduce their origins and stuff, and then have Hawkeye, or show Hawkeye almost kill Black Widow, like he talked about, I think in Age of Ultron or Avengers, I'm not sure which one he talked about it in. And then introduce the Avengers Initiative from there, and then keep Captain America the exact same, Avengers the exact same, Iron Man 2 keep the same, show Tony having flashbacks from Avengers like he did in Iron Man 3. This is Phase 2, by the way, so keep Iron Man 2 the same. Iron Man 2 is Phase 2, is the beginning of Phase 2. Develop his alcoholism. Captain America the Winter Soldier the exact same. The Dark World keep the same, but I would change the villain to Black Dwarf, which is one of the Black Order children. Show the real ability of the Reality Stone towards the end of the movie. Show Thanos recoup Black Dwarf for his ability to wield the Reality Stone. Guardians of the Galaxy, keep them the same, but introduce Proxima Midnight as one of the sisters of Nebula and Gamora. That would be pretty interesting to see. Or you could have Nebula be the granddaughter like she is in the comic books. Show Thanos' hatred for Gamora and a little bit of liking for Nebula, or I think it's reversed. My bad. And then spoiling Proxima Midnight as like a dad would usually do. Show Black Dwarf is still in the works with Thanos. And then at the end credit scene, show Thanos the Power Stone he wanted, and obviously he's not going to get it. And then show him interrogating Red Skull or something, like, where's the Tesseract? And he's like, oh, it's in Odin's treasure room. And then have him like kill him. Have Red Skull like die off. Because obviously we know he didn't die off in the Captain America movie. And then after Guardians of the Galaxy, have Ant-Man, keep that the same, but have Tony Stark meet Hank Pym, have him discuss about joining Stark Industries. And then Iron Man 3, keep in mind this is still Phase 2, introduce the Demon in a Bottle storyline, which is a very famous storyline that I was hoping they would have done. Show Tony suffering, have Rhodey leave him and become Iron Patriot to separate himself. That way it's just not him becoming an Iron Patriot randomly. Have the Mandarin actually be the Mandarin. Have him take the Soul Stone. So I don't know where he can get it from, but he for some reason has the Soul Stone. Have the power of the Soul Stone show how extremely like broken Tony is. You know, he's an alcoholic, and obviously show him how like the alcoholism develop. Have Tony, he can't save the world from unearthly threats like Thanos and stuff. And then Tony gets help from Thor, maybe, considering that the Mandarin has the Soul Stone. And then, you know, happy ending from there or whatever. End credit scene, show and then I also have what's her name, Pepper Potts leave Tony Stark, and then at the end credit scene show Tony developing or teasing Ultron with Hank Pym being like, you know, I was shown this, let's do this. And then Age of Ultron, you obviously keep that the same, bringing in the elements from the Iron Man 3 movie, have Hank Pym and Tony create the Vision and Ultron, and then when introducing Vision, show Thanos assembling the I don't know what I wrote here. But don't have Hulk leave is basically what I put as the main thing. So don't have Hulk leave to space like he does. And then after Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, you keep it the same, but have Eobard know where the Time Stone is and have him kind of fight Doctor Strange or team up with Calicius. And then have the Hulk sequel. You introduce Red Hulk. You have Banner try and find a way to stop himself from becoming the Hulk. But then General Ross gets a hold of the super serum. And he asks Stark for help, but Stark can't help him. So Red Hulk goes insane. He destroys Harlem again. And Hulk is like, fuck, I gotta kill him then. I gotta kill Red Hulk. And then Bruce realizes he can no longer contain the Hulk. And he's like, what if that's me one day, as the Red Hulk acts. And Stark realizes the Hulk cannot be controlled. So he convinces Banner to leave into space. And then you tease Planet Hulk. I don't think I developed that though. And then phase 3, you introduce Spider-Man. You keep the same, but instead of the whole Tony Stark building him the suit, have Peter make him the homemade suit. Just a regular like in the original movie, the Spider-Man movie, Tobey Maguire movie. And then the boat scene, what I would change is Iron Man does help Spider-Man. But then he's like, kid, you're too dangerous or whatever, so I'm going to have to turn you in, and they fight, but Spider-Man escapes. The next day, Peter goes back to school. They find that little explosion device he had with the alien tech in his locker. They arrest him. He sees a flyer or something from Matt Murdock's law firm, and then you introduce Daredevil from there, and then you have the rest of the movie go from there. And then Daredevil, you have a Daredevil movie, which is the Marvel, and then I titled it The Marvel Knight. Have a storyline similar to season 1 with Daredevil already established as a main hero. And then you tease the Punisher at the end, and then you have a Punisher movie similar to season 1, show how Punisher exists more than just a street level anti-hero, so he's known around the world, and then have Spider-Man confront him at one point. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we're still in phase 2, keep the same, introduce Adam Warlock in the end credit, we're in phase 3, but my bad. Keep it the same, but introduce Adam Warlock in the end credit scene, like actually show Adam Warlock. And then I would have a Captain Marvel movie. This one was kind of hard to do, but have it set in the 80s, like the movie, just like in the Skrulls, or introduce the Skrulls. Have a post-credit scene, Nick Fury in present day, convincing Captain Marvel to come out into the public's eye again. And then Spider-Man 2, you introduce the Sinister Six, have him destroyed New York. Iron Man, Captain America, and Daredevil help Spider-Man. The end credit scene teases a civil war with the Human Registration Act, because New York is destroyed. And then Civil War, you keep the same, have Captain America not trust Tony due to the alcoholism. Maybe show him have an argument about the Pepper leaving Tony. And then Team Captain America is everyone, but have Daredevil on the team as well. And then Iron Man's team, you have Captain Marvel on the team. And then at some point, Punisher kills the Sinister Six to save Spider-Man. That way you show, this is a really developed universe. And then the end credit scene is show Thanos ready to attack, have Captain America killed off, show Tony regretting the decisions he's made. Then Black Panther, you keep the same. Avengers Infinity War. This is when we get to Avengers Infinity War. I put just whatever's going to happen in that movie happens, but Captain America is brought back from Adam Warlock using his ability to control the Soul Stone from Soul World, like in the comic books. He helps defeat Thanos, and then I put Vision dies, Loki dies, and Iron Man dies. And then Spider-Verse, I would have a Spider-Verse movie. I would introduce the idea of the multiverse, and then have Doctor Strange as a tag-along. And then have Fantastic Four, have Doctor Doom as the main villain, show how people react to the new heroes on the street. Have the X-Men, have the world show that they're afraid of mutants. The villains could be like Magneto and a bunch of other mutants he runs out, and they destroy like a city or something. And then towards the end, show how the world is afraid of the mutants, so the Avengers come in, and they're trying to convince them, like, who are you guys? And then Avengers 4, introduce Secret Wars, re-enter the multiverse, have Spider-Man attain the black suit, have Scarlet Witch tease the House of M, introduce the X-Men and Fantastic Four with the main continuity, bring back Tony Stark, and have a fallout between the Avengers and mutants. Scarlet Witch will be playing a big role, and then the ending of the MCU, quote-unquote, is the House of M storyline. So Scarlet Witch really messes up reality, and then towards the end, everyone loses their powers, people are dead, and then somehow that's fixed, and then towards the end, the world now lives without evil or powers or whatever, because Scarlet Witch messed up reality. That's it. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. I didn't realize how much that was. That's how I would do it, to be honest. Um, Secret Wars and House of M really fascinates me, so I thought I should end it like that. But yeah, that's
Sounds cool.
yeah. So that's really how I would do it. So just let me know what you guys think in the comments. Just wanted to get that out the way. So now let's get on to the actual show here. So I'm gonna let Alex start with this one, considering I talked a bunch, and I'm gonna try and catch my breath. Jessica Jones, season 2. I finished this just the other day. I have a lot of shit to say about it, but I'm obviously gonna let Alex talk because it's one of his favorite shows. So go ahead, Alex. What do you think about Jessica Jones season 2?
Yeah, here's the deal, right? Jessica Jones season 1 was a huge surprise for me. Like, it handled so many serious topics so well, and it was such a core written story. Like, I know people complain about the whole 13 episodes deal, and to be honest, I'm with you for the most part, but Jessica Jones handled it the best way possible, I think. It's just the characters they were very realistic. Kilgrave, once again, one of the best villains I've ever seen in any form of entertainment. I mean, I never thought in my entire life I would actually have some form of sympathy for a rapist, but Kilgrave did it. He made me do it. So after a phenomenal, brilliant season 1, I had high hopes for season 2. Now, I knew right away you can't beat Kilgrave, so it's obviously not going to be as fantastic as season 1, but I was really disappointed, I'll say. I mean, I heard people say, oh, just stick through it. After episode 6, it really picks up. But, like, I'm kind of sitting here going, like, okay, but shouldn't, like, maybe the first 2 episodes be kind of slow and then it picks up a little bit? Why do I have to wait 6 hours for me to get invested at all? I was very disappointed. Now, that's not to say it was complete garbage and, oh, my God, it's the worst TV in the world. It certainly isn't. There's far worse. But I sound like a parent right now talking to a kid. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. That's how it is with Jessica Jones season 2. I'm not like, oh, well, there goes that show. It's a waste. It's more just like, wow, you could have done a lot better. Like, the pacing was horrible in my opinion. Even after episode 6, when it apparently picked up, there were still storylines and moments where I was kind of just like, all right, come on. What are we doing here, guys? Let's move on. And some character arcs bothered me. Like, I know a lot of people hated Trish, which I did. I thought she was really fucking annoying. In fact, people are even joking that she's the real villain of season 2. That's funny as fuck, because it really feels like that sometimes. But this felt like, I would say, a 6-episode story dragged out into 13, which you don't want. They really just need to learn to migrate to the story. So if season 1 can be 13 episodes, that's great. But season 2, cut it down to 6. Season 3 can be 8. Whatever works best for the story, I would say. I will give credit, though. The acting continues to be phenomenal. I mean, there is not one bad actor in this show. There's not one character where I was like, oh, well, that was so horribly acted. So I will say the acting is on its A game. But everything else, I feel like, took a down seat. Like, well, the camera work was, I think, improved as well. So the camera work and the acting is what remained on the A game, but everything else, I think it took a really huge backslide. What do you think?
Honestly, when I was watching this, I was like, this could have really worked for a season 1 of Jessica Jones. Like, I feel like just because this was mainly her origin story, like, I know a lot of people really wanted to know more about Jessica Jones after season 1. I felt like you should have done this storyline for season 1 just because of, like, just everything you were saying really felt like a season 1. I didn't like Trish at all, either way. Yeah.
It felt very, like, forced, I would say. Like, this whole mother thing. Like, if your mother was a bigger deal in season 1 through conversation, like, you know, my mother had a huge influence on me, and also, I didn't like the fact that the mother came back to life. In my opinion, I think that cheapens kind of what season 1 did.
Yeah.
When Kilgrave bought Jessica's house, that was such a creepy and effective move, like a psychological warfare type shit. But now that her mother's alive, when I go and rewatch season 1, which I have a few times because it's just that great, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, it doesn't really have the impact anymore since, you know, she has family out there.
Yeah.
Like actual blood family out there. So I feel like that even did some damage to season 1, which that's unfortunate.
Yeah. See, this felt like a prequel comic almost. Like, this was just, if you wanted to know more about Jessica Jones, this is their answer to you finding out more about Jessica Jones. Now, I will admit, I did like how they didn't bring up any of the other Netflix universes. They just stuck to their own story. So it kind of felt like Jessica Jones really stood on its own. Season 2 stood on its own without being connected to anything else. But again, it still feels like it would have worked much better for a season 1 storyline. Because like you said, yeah, that Kilgrave moment, that was one of my favorite moments ever in the Netflix universe. That's one of my favorite episodes. I think that is my favorite episode, as a matter of fact, of Jessica Jones. So going into this season, I was like, this is it. This is the last thing before Infinity War, even though it's not really connected to the MCU. This is going to be really good. Jessica Jones season 1 was awesome. I'm pretty sure it's not going to top season 1, but it should at least hold up to it. But just when it kept going on, this show took me forever to watch. And one of the only reasons I finished the show was so early was to review it. I originally was going to finish it for Infinity War. That way I had something to distract me while waiting for Infinity War. But just watching this show, it felt like I had to force myself. Like this is similar vibes that I got watching Iron Fist. Iron Fist was horrible to get through. Like it took me months to finish Iron Fist. And just finishing Jessica Jones, you just don't, like, when I finished season 2, I felt like, what the fuck? Like, there really wasn't the payoff. I mean, Trish, there's that tease of Trish becoming a villain, which is her Hellcat persona. During one of the scenes, her doctor was like, oh, you just wasted 2 out of your 9 lives. And I was like, oh, I got that reference. But just Trish as a character, I felt like really brought down the show for me. I mean, she made some really, really stupid decisions. It pissed me off when she killed her mom. Like, that came out of nowhere. Like, she shot her mom dead on, and I was like, whoa, like, who the fuck? At first I thought it was the Punisher. I was convinced. I was like, did no one told me Frank Castle was crossing over? I was like, this is about to be fucking lit. And then I see, and I was like, oh, it's Trish. And I'm like, wait, what? It's Trish? And it's like, what are you doing? Like, why? And then as soon as Jessica Jones gets down, I'm like, oh my god, kick her ass right now. Like, fucking rip her to shreds. Rip her to shreds. And then she just runs. And then that's it. It's just another 30, after that it's just 30 minutes of just trying to close the show. And it's just like, it's basically like, okay guys, we got 30 minutes left. Let's just, put a bunch of stuff in there until we reach the hour mark. And it's just like, well, what was that? Like, season 2, I just didn't really enjoy season 2. I was very confused at some points, like, who the hell was the villain? This honestly wasn't a villain. This was an origin story. This is basically what season 2 was, an origin story. And like I said, this would have worked much better as a season 1 storyline, rather than a season 2 storyline. I will admit, Kilgrave coming back, that was a kind of nice surprise. Even if he was a hallucination, David Tennant is still one of the better actors in the Netflix universe. So I was really happy to see him. But other than that, it was just a shit show, to be honest. And like I said, like you said, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in how this season was. I felt like this could have really been a really good start for After Defenders, but just now the Netflix universe just seems to be going downhill ever since the season 2 of Daredevil. And season 2 Daredevil was great, but like just after season 2 Daredevil, it just seems like the shows have been becoming really lackluster.
Well, here's something funny. Guess what? Hellcat's actually a hero in the comics.
She's a hero?
Yeah, so like, I don't know. I honestly, I feel like the writers and producers, they purposely, like, not purposely, but they never intended for Trish.
Oh, I think he cut off. You there, Alex?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you cut off, like, I think you cut off saying about something with the producers or something.
Well, I don't think they intended to make her look like a villain, but it's like, it's just, I think it was just poor writing.
Yeah, I could see that, to be honest. I mean, I was convinced that Hellcat was a villain. I think I had learned about her in the first season. I don't remember if they just flat out said she was a villain, or she was like, oh, she's one of the comic book characters Jessica knows and shit. But that's interesting. I didn't know that she was actually a hero. But I don't know. I just didn't like the whole Trish storyline. I thought that was out of place. Sometimes I'll admit I was kind of interested, like that golf course scene where she was like, "Do you know who I am? You know, I can have you guys fucking sued. I can get you guys out of a job." I was like, okay, that's good writing. I was like, that's pretty good. You know, she's using her fame, purposely using her fame to threaten people, and I was like, that's kind of good. I like that. But other than that, it's just the show. I didn't really like the show at most parts, to be honest. But the acting was pretty good. I just wish that there was just more to it. I guess there's really not much I can say about it. It's just I was really hoping for a lot more, and just getting this again, it just feels like it could have worked a lot better with the season one storyline.
Well, I mean, you said you don't know who the villain is. I guess it was the mother because they kept, the first half kept going on this whole, there's a serial killer vibe, and she ended up being the serial killer. So I guess if you want to be technical about it, she was the villain. And that's another complaint I have about the season. They dragged that shit on way too long. Not the serial killer thing, because most TV shows will do that, yeah. But the whole thing about, oh, well, is she a rabid animal or is she Jessica's mother? That should have been solved in maybe 2 or 3 episodes, not, fucking 8 or something. Like, they went on so long about, oh, well, look, she cares about Jessica. Oh, wait, she's a crazy animal. Oh, wait, she cares about Jessica. Like, it kept going back and forth, and it got to a point where I was just like, okay, either kill her or just have her be a hero. I don't care anymore. Make a choice.
Yeah.
I hate how it kept, going back on its word.
Yeah, like even like at the end of the season one or end of season two, she kidnaps Jessica and like, oh, okay, here's her fucking fallout moment. Like this is the time where she's actually gonna become the villain she was supposed to be. Because I knew she was she was supposed to be the villain, but her going back and forth to the hero and villain persona, and she was like, oh, I stopped killing people, and then she goes and snaps a guy's neck. It's like, okay, it's like what are you trying to do here? And then in this last episode where they save the family, I thought that was kind of cool because it kind of symbolizes Jessica origins. It kind of redeems Jessica, like, oh, I didn't get to save my family, so she can save this one, almost. But I didn't like that either, how she kept switching back and forth from the villain persona. So when Trish finally killed her, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't, were you, like, I was just really confused. But that was really, not abrupt, how did you say? Like, that was really, yeah, that kind of wasn't like an abrupt end, almost, because you didn't really get to find out her arc if she was going to truly become a villain or not. She was just trying to get her daughter back, is what it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, the second she killed the female detective character, I was kind of just like, oh, okay, so we know she's crazy. But then in episode 13, it was like, then they once again spent the entire episode being like, oh, no, wait, she can be a hero. And I was just like, so by the time that Trish killed her, I was kind of just like, thank God. Not even in the way of, oh, well, that's another villain taken down. Just in the way of, oh, okay, so this plot point's over, finally. That's not good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they were trying to do with Jessica's mom. I felt like they were like in the writers room back and forth, like, oh, she's her mom, she has to be a hero, and it's like, no, make her family her greatest weapon or greatest threat or whatever. And it's like, what? It's like either do something or don't do something about it. I just felt like, they were probably in the writing room really confused about what they were doing. So they were just like, okay, let's have this big arc about her and then just kill her off at the end of the show. I honestly don't know what they were trying to do with Jessica's mother. I knew from the beginning she had to be Jessica's mother. I was like, watch her become Jessica's mother. And I was right. And people were telling me, oh, there's a big mind-blowing twist in the middle of the season. And I was like, if it's nothing other than Kilgrave somehow coming back, I won't be surprised. And I was like, it's probably the mind-blowing twist is that she's her mother. And I just caught on really quickly. So I was kind of disappointed at how, like, for some people it was probably like not that hard or not that easy to find out. But to me, I just connected the dots really quickly. I was like, it's going to be her mom. Like, it just has to be her mom or something. Or like her just someone she knew. And it turned out it was her mom. But yeah, that's I don't know what they were trying to do with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and I wasn't really a fan. I mean, it feels like they kind of overwritten the continuity because in season 1, here's how I saw it. Now maybe I'm just being stupid again. That's not a surprise. But here's how I thought. So Jessica got into that car crash with the chemicals. I thought it was the fucking chemicals that gave her the powers. But now in season 2, all of a sudden, no, this scientist got her and did experiments on her for like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Like, I have no memory of that being mentioned in season 1, and that kind of bummed me out. I'd rather just it be the chemicals. Now there's this whole facility, and it's kind of this X-Men Weapon X type thing, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, see, there's the thing, too. Season 1 felt like the perfect setup for Jessica Jones, and you could have done little things here and there, reference her origin story. You know, have a little episode like how they did similar to the part, I know you hated this part, when she got the leather jacket. Like, have an episode dedicated to that in season 2, but make that build off the storyline. Now, obviously, it did kind of build off the storyline because you learned about her mother, but it just took away everything from season 1, from the origin story to the house scene with Kilgrave. It just feels like season 1 no longer exists. Like, they retconned a lot of shit for Jessica Jones. And it was disappointing seeing everything being written out. Because, yeah, like you said, it's no longer the chemicals. Her family was never dead. It was just her dad and mom and brother. She had blood out there. So the Kilgrave shit doesn't even feel like that affected it anymore because, like you said, you know, she has her mom now. The Trish storyline, I honestly don't know what they were trying to do there, but it just feels like everything from season 1 was just tossed out the window, and they were like, let's rewrite Jessica Jones, but let's have it progress, you know, from Defenders, I guess. I honestly have... Again, this show was really confusing for me watching it. I'm probably going to have to go watch season 2 a second time, but just honestly going off the top of my head, Jessica Jones season 2 was just a disappointment. I mean, I'm happy it got renewed for season 3. Maybe it can redeem itself. But other than that, there's nothing else for me to say about it, to be honest.
I mean, I'm trying to think here, like, I do want to give a quick shout out real quick, that flashback storyline, I couldn't stand that shit. Like, anytime you're telling a character's origin story, like an already established character, and you have to give the detail of how they got their fucking clothes. I cannot stand that. Like when she picked up the leather jacket from her former boyfriend, it was like, oh, this is nice, and then puts it down. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. It's like they're clothes, okay? Jessica Jones doesn't have a costume like Daredevil. We don't care. I mean, she could have went to J-Mart and gotten that leather jacket. It doesn't matter. I don't know why people think it's such a big deal. Because people like to cosplay, I guess, but it's still just a regular girl wearing regular clothes. There's no special powers with the vest. I don't know why we have to see that. And I didn't like that flashback because, again, it feels like it's overwriting shit. Like, oh, so Jessica did have this really kind guy, and he was murdered, and this was a traumatic event in her life that we somehow never heard about in season 1. Okay. Like, that's just more over backstory writing that I can't stand.
Yeah, that's one of the things I don't really like about shows when they go back to the origin story and then rewrite it. It's like, if you really want to go over the origin story, go over the origin story you've already established. I hate when I hate when shows retcon stuff. I can't come up with any more examples. I think The Flash has done it before where they retcon a few things in their own show, but this one, it's just like it again. Like I feel like I sound like a broken record at this point, but this could have worked better as a season 1 storyline. Honestly, what I can give it is a 6 out of 10, or maybe even a 5 out of 10. The show really didn't invest in me as much as I thought it would. I mean, it took me a while to finish this show. The shows like The Punisher or Daredevil season 2, those I finished very quickly, usually because I'm really interested in them. But becoming more and more disinterested with the show is just a bad sign. You don't want to lose viewers, especially if your show's bingeable. But again, I'm really hoping they can redeem themselves in season 3. I have high hopes they can, because I'm pretty sure they'll listen to the fans. But this season 2 was just not what I expected. Any last words?
Look, like you said, I'm glad I got a season 3. I mean, this wasn't enough to kill the show and be like, nah, I'm done. I can't do any more Jessica Jones. I mean, I want it to succeed. So, I'm glad I got a season 3. I'm hoping that this was just a bad step in the road because, most TV shows have that one season where you're kind of just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully Jessica Jones just got it out of the way, got it out of the system. Now season 3 and 4, that can be the quality shit I love.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all I got to say.
Yeah. Like I said, it's better now that they have it now than later. Like with Arrow, it's better that they have it now. That way they can learn from their mistakes and then they don't repeat it later on during the process. But flowing on, with the Netflix and TV universes, we're gonna now discuss about how we think this is going to affect the TV, how Infinity War is going to affect the TV universes. So now we're gonna get into the MCU stuff. Now just really quick, so we can get a starting point off. Charlie Cox, I don't know if you heard of this. They interviewed him at one of the fan expos. I don't remember if it was in Dallas or something, but they interviewed him at one of the fan expos. You can look this up. This quote, you can find it. Charlie Cox was interviewed, and they asked him, do you see yourself and the other Defenders ever going on with the big screen with the other superheroes in the MCU universe? Charlie Cox had responded he couldn't really talk about that due to something happening in season 3 with Infinity War tying into season 3. Now at first I thought this was going to be some way of him coming back to life, and that Defenders scene was just a flash, or not a flashback, but a forward into the future. But now I'm kind of hoping that isn't the case. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping he was just badly injured or something, or maybe he has powers now, or I don't really know. But how do you think the Infinity War is going to affect the Netflix universes? Do you think they're just gonna not talk about it at all? Because this is a really big thing. The Infinity War is bigger than the Battle of New York, and the Netflix universe talks about it all the time. But do you think Infinity War is going to have more of an impact than the quote-unquote incident that they keep mentioning, or do you think that they're just not going to, they're going to keep it out of the bag, or keep it in the bag at all times?
Well, what I imagined was, here's what I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to do a thing where it's like, oh, the MCU is slow, but I would say, the MCU TV shows take place a few years before Infinity War because they don't move at the rapid rate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We don't know when the MCU TV shows take place. I don't think they take place in the modern times like the CW. Like the CW shows, whenever the episode airs, that's when the episode takes place, normally. I don't think that's how it works for the MCU Netflix. So, for example, Jessica Jones Season 2, that could be taking place in 2015, and we have no idea. And we don't know when Infinity War takes place either. I'm talking specific year. It could be 2024, something like that. So I always imagined that was their excuse of getting out of it is, oh, well, look at how behind the MCU is, the MCU Netflix stuff is. So we have ways to go before we start making references, and by ways to go, I mean essentially never, because I highly doubt we're going to be getting Daredevil Season 11, you know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, I honestly don't think it's going to play that big of a role. I mean, the Infinity War is going to play that big of a role for the Netflix universes, but I'm hoping to God that at a certain point, these characters will cross over with one another. These characters will be a part of one another, because apparently the Netflix and TV universes are not part of Marvel Studios, and that's why they haven't really gotten crossed over yet. But it's interesting that they have these characters. Like Daredevil is, I wouldn't consider him a B-lister. I consider him more as, or not a C-lister. I consider him more of as almost an A or B-lister. He's definitely a household name per se, but Daredevil is a pretty big character that they could use. I mean, they already made a movie about him. If I go out to somebody randomly in the street and I'd be like, "Hey, do you know who Daredevil is?" and I'll be like, they'll probably give me a few answers. They'll probably be like, "Oh, the guy from the Netflix universe," or the guy from Netflix, or they'll be like, "Okay, the guy from Marvel." So he is a known character within within people's mindsets. So with Infinity War being as big as it is, I'm hoping that somehow it plays a big part, because Thanos is going to unleash hell on these Avengers, and we know for a fact that with Black Panther coming out, Wakanda is now part of this MCU universe, and they're gonna help develop technology and stuff. But like you said, we don't know what year it's gonna be in. I'm honestly just hoping that Infinity War finally brings these TV stuff and movies connected. Now, I know it's better to have it separated because the TV shows can go off their own storyline. That's one of the main reasons why I like the DC show so much, is because they can do their own storyline without having to follow the movie universe. So they're not, limited on what they can do. But if you're going to have these stuff connected and say they're connected, you can't just take back your word and just not do anything about it. Like, you have to show some continuity there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, yeah, it would be just easier to be like, hey, they're not connected. That's that. But I mean, that's kind of that marketing appeal of, oh no, it's all one big fucking thing, guys. Trust us. We're just not going to show you in any way on screen. So it's more marketing than, I would say, them being honest and being like, oh no, it really is connected. I would say that's just more for marketing purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly, I think that's all we can say about it, to be honest, is I can see as it being marketing purposes, like, oh, from the studios that brought you, fucking Iron Man, this is connected to this and that.
That type of deal.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're going to use that, at least show some connectivity. I mean, they don't even show the Avengers Tower in the Netflix universe, which is very interesting considering it's always on the promo images or something. But, definitely, I sincerely hope that they connect these universes at some point, because I really hope they're just not left out there. Even though they're supposed to be meant as the street level heroes, I sincerely hope that at some point they'll become connected within the main continuity storyline. Moving on from this topic, just because for time's sake, we're gonna talk about the Soulstone Soulstone theories. So obviously we know the Soulstone has not been mentioned in the MCU other than the time the Collector has mentioned them in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. There's a lot of theories going around places like it's in Wakanda, or Thanos already has the Soul Stone, or Adam Warlock's Soul Stone, or a bunch of other stuff. So we're just going to talk about where we think the Soul Stone is, or how it's going to play a big role. So just some background information just to get for you guys familiar with it. The Soul Stone is one of the most powerful stones or gems, whatever you want to call them, in the Marvel comic book universe. In the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, Adam Warlock actually went back to Soul World and used his connection with the Soul Stone to take back the Infinity Gauntlet. So the Soul Stone is one of the most powerful gems or stones, whatever you want to call them, in the Marvel universe. And in a prequel comic to Avengers Infinity War, Wong was talking about Doctor Strange about all the Infinity Stones, and he was saying how the Soul Stone is the least known stone of them all, and how it could be the most dangerous threat of them all. So this Soul Stone, this could possibly do some very heavy damage, and we have yet to see it. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is something in Infinity War, and the Soul Stone will be in Infinity War, for a fact. And you can, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but I don't want to say how I know this, but the Soul Stone will be in Infinity War for a fact. I just want to, get where could the Soul Stone possibly be? Now, I just know it's in the movie, but I don't know where they're gonna find it at. I hope I didn't spoil anything for you, Alex. But yeah, so this the Infinity War movie is possibly the Infinity War. Not that bad. The Soul Stone is gonna be one of the bigger threats in the Infinity War storyline. So let's just get right into this. So the Soul Stone, I possibly think it could be in Wakanda. Now, the theory that I like to go off of is the astral plane theory. Now, Black Panther, as you saw, when T'Challa had won the battle for the throne, they put him in. They what do you call it? They buried him alive, right? And he would go to the astral plane and see his family members and stuff. And we see this again with not Killmonger. And people were saying, the reason that they're seeing their family members is because of the Soul Stone being in Wakanda, and that's why the heart-shaped gems or flowers are grown. But then again, they did say, I think in the movie they did say it was the vibranium meteor that caused them to grow. But they're saying that the astral plane is the works of the Soul Stone. So I'm very curious to see if this is true or not. But I'm going with it's in Wakanda and that's where the Soul Stone is. But I'm not quite sure if that's even the truth. But I do like the theory of that being if the Soul Stone being in the astral plane, just because it makes a lot more sense. And the Soul Stone does affect other people's souls, and it could also temper with their minds and stuff, and you can turn someone corrupt. But where do you think the Soul Stone could possibly be at, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you call me a basic ass bitch, but I'm with you on that Wakanda thing. Like, that's what I thought way before, even back when Black Panther came out. I was like, the second, T'Challa came up and he saw his dad and all that, I was like, oh, okay, so Soul Stone. So, I got no crazy conspiracy theories about it. I just think it's in Wakanda, and that's why we're going to have a huge fight in Wakanda. You see that in all the promos.
Yeah. Another theory that they have is that it's on Titan, and the reason they're on Titan is to stop Thanos from gathering the last Infinity Stone, which is the Soul Stone. Now, that obviously doesn't really make a lot of sense, considering Titan is a dead planet, and the only reason it would make sense is Thanos is hiding it there, so once he gathers all the Infinity Stones, he can go back home and finish the job where it started, quote unquote. There's also the theory of, I believe it being with, what is it? Oh, it's with Heimdall. I don't know if you know who that is. It's the Thor. It's one of the Thor characters. It's played by Idris Elba. I think that's his name.
Isn't that the Guardian of the Gate?
Yeah.
The guy that bridges Earth to, Asgard.
Yeah. The reason they say this is because in Thor Ragnarok, he obviously helps Thor see where he's at, and Thor's eyes turn orange. Now, the reason for this theory is because from the other Infinity Stones, the power gem, the Guardian's eyes turn purple when they touch the stone, and then for Jane Foster, when she has the Reality Stone in her eyes turn red, and same with Malekith. And then the Tesseract, people were saying that the Tesseract also, or the Scepter, before it got retconned, that Hawkeye's eyes turned blue, and whoever Loki took over, the eyes turned blue. So they're saying that because Thor's eyes were orange and Heimdall's eyes are orange, the Soul Stone might be in him, and Thanos is going to kill him when he invades the Thor's ship in Infinity War. That's another theory. And the other theory was that it's in his sword, and that's why he always carries a sword with him. But it makes more sense if it's in if he does possess the Infinity Stone within him. But what do you think about that theory?
It's a possibility. I mean, they have kept this film in such tight wraps,
Yeah.
They've kept a lot of shit hidden, and I commend them for that. We need more movie studios to do that, please. So, I mean, anything is possible, although I'm still going to bank on my Wakanda theory.
Yeah, that's the main theory I'm going to go off of. But yeah, so I guess that's the final thing. So we'll just end it with that, is that the Soul Stone might be in Wakanda. If we're wrong, we're wrong. But if we're right, you can come back to this video and you'll be like, oh, we fucking predicted it, like we did with the Solo Deadpool Infinity War move.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Marvel just loves proving us wrong. If I'm wrong about this and you see me on the street, I'll let you punch me in the face. I'm going to say it right now.
Oh my. But yeah, so hopefully we get that right. If not, you can punch Alex in the face, I'm assuming, if you see him on the streets. So next year,
I would never sue. I keep to my word.
That's hilarious. Next thing is gonna sticking on the theories is who is most likely to die. So obviously this is one of the theories that a lot of people don't like talking about. But I thought it would just be fun to give our quote-unquote draft of who we think might die and stuff. Obviously going off the trailers and stuff and the little knowledge we know. So I'm gonna get the quote-unquote elephants in the room out, and then I'll give my theories on who I personally will believe will die. So the first one is obviously Vision, because the Mind Stone is in him, and Thanos, I don't know if he can work without the soul, if he can work without the Mind Stone or not. The Mind Stone might just enhance his powers. So I'm assuming that when the Mind Stone is, or if it even is going to be taken out of his head, is that he'll be depowered and he just won't have powers. He'll just be a walking robot. A negative thing is Loki. Now this one is a lot more sense. I think Loki will die. This is my personal theory. Back a while ago, the directors are in an interview and they were saying you'll know Thanos is the most powerful villain in the MCU within the first 10 minutes of this movie. And I was like, that's really interesting. So when the second trailer came out, or the first trailer came out, we see Loki obviously trying to hand the Tesseract to Thanos. Now I didn't know this at the time, but apparently in Avengers, Thanos was the reason Loki invaded Earth, and he invaded Earth to help Thanos. And if he did not succeed, Thanos would come after him. So this being Thanos going to Loki and Loki handing him the Tesseract, this is him trying to make up for the bargain. So with in the second trailer, you see Thor's head getting crushed by, I'm assuming, either Cole Obsidian or not Cole Obsidian, Black Dwarf or what's his name? Thanos. And he's making him look. Thanos is making Loki watch, and he's like, "Where's the Tesseract?" And Loki redeeming himself after the Ragnarok, he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna tell you," but obviously he's seeing his brother getting hurt, and he's like, "God damn it! Like, I'm so sorry, Thor." And he hands over the Tesseract, and Thanos crushes the Tesseract. He puts it in the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's like, "Thank you very much for helping me out." And he probably I'm assuming it's Black Dwarf who has him at this point, just because I just thought about it. I was like, no, it makes more sense that Black Dwarf has him. So Black Dwarf has Thor in his hand, and he's crushing Thor's skull still. And Thanos walks up to Loki, and he's like, you gave it to me now, but you promised me you invaded Earth, and I have to do that now. So you didn't really keep up your bargain. And he fucking either cracks Loki's neck, or he uses one of the Infinity Gems, and he like, oh, let me test this out, and he uses it on Loki, and he kills Loki, and he kills Loki right in front of Thor, and that's when Thor lands with the Guardians. That's how I'm assuming Loki's gonna die. Next one I'm going to say is Spider-Man. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna be upset about that, but hear me out. Spider-Man, I think, is going to die and then come back to life, and I know a lot of people don't like that. But I'm assuming this is also, I guess, my theory of how quote unquote everyone's going to die, similar in the comic book. Spider-Man is going to be extremely hurt or possibly die, and Tony's going to be like, oh shit, like this is my fault. I killed a kid. I brought him into this. This is my fucking fault. And he tries to attack Thanos out of anger, and then Thanos kills Tony, and then I guess everyone just goes ballistic and stuff. I'm assuming that Tony and Captain America are going to fight Thanos at some point together. And, Captain America sees Tony die, and he's like, oh shit, that's my friend, and this is my fault because he was trying to redeem himself. So Captain America goes at Thanos, and then Thanos kills Captain America. And then Bucky sees this, and he's like, oh shit, you killed my best friend. And he goes after Thanos, and then all the Avengers start going at Thanos. And he's like, enough of this. And he has possibly most, if not all, Infinity Gems in the Gauntlet. And he kills everyone. Except for, I'm assuming, either Doctor Strange or Nebula. And Doctor Strange having a time loop, he was like, oh fucking shit. Like, he freezes time and he's like, fuck, everyone's gonna die. I gotta reverse this. He reverses time, and then, the Avengers don't actually die. That's how I'm assuming everyone dies. I think that's all my theories I have so far. It's really hard to tell who's going to die at this point. But if I'm just going to drop names, Loki, Vision, Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Nebula possibly, Gamora possibly, Mantis, Drax. I don't want to say Thor, but possibility of Thor. And Wong. That's if I'm dropping names and not coming up with anything else. What about you, Alex?
Alright, well, with me, I got some death predictions, however, I don't have specifics, you know what I mean? Like, you have that theory about Thor and Loki, and that was really impressive of you, but, like, I don't have anything like that under my belt. It's more just, like, I kind of look at the actors and how they act and all that.
Yeah.
Like, well, the character's journey's up into this point, so I would say, Captain America is probably going to die. I think Iron Man's going to die. I don't think Spider-Man's going to die. and I'm talking like permanent deaths, like, the whole idea about like, oh, everyone's gonna die and then there's gonna be a time reversal.
Yeah.
I'm not counting that as a death. I'm counting like these are people that aren't getting out of part 1 or part 2. So I would say Captain America, Iron Man, Vision, obviously. I would probably say Drax. Drax is a safe bet for me. Wong, I don't know if they'd kill Wong. They might save him for Doctor Strange too, because there was that guy at the end of it.
Okay, the mic cut off. It cut off Alex in the middle of it. So
we had Casper the Ghost come in as a third guest here.
Yeah, I mean the mic was sitting there and the cord like just ripped itself out, and I was like, oh shit, this is bad. But thankfully we saved the last part. We're back after like a few seconds of technical difficulties. Let's get right back into this. So Alex, go ahead. This is gonna be really bad for timing. Now I'm just gonna have to find the times. Anyway, but yeah, so go ahead, Alex. Go ahead and finish your theory. I think you were talking about how you didn't think Wong was gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Casper is racist and doesn't want me to talk about Wong. Anyway, fuck you, Casper. Alright, so I was talking about Wong, and I was saying, I think his death would be more meaningful in Doctor Strange too, because in the after credits of that, you had that guy be like, oh, there's too many sorcerers around. So I think it would be more meaningful to kill Wong there versus against some random purple-ass alien that Wong has had no interactions with before.
Mm.
That's just me, though, so I think they're going to hold on to him until then.
How about... See, with Wong, it's difficult to say that he's going to die because we see him in the promos. Because we obviously see him in the posters. I think he has his own poster, if I'm not mistaken. I think he has his own character poster. He's in a lot of the like trailers and stuff. He's also one of the main people on the actual Infinity War poster. So for Wong, it's kind of hard to say he would die, but I'm just assuming he might be physically hurt, or Doctor Strange's like, no, you stay here. But yeah, I don't really know. It's really hard to tell at this point who would die. For sure, I know there's about 40 characters in this, 40 heroes, including Hawkeye and Ant-Man. I'm assuming they're in the movie just because I know they filmed scenes for it. So hopefully they don't get cut out or anything.
Yeah, Hawkeye's probably gonna die, I would say.
Hawkeye?
Yeah, I think Hawkeye's done.
Hawkeye's interesting because he's supposed to be Ronin, and Ronin is one of the identities he takes in the comic books. I'm not willing to bet he'll die in this one, but if we're going to Part 4 or Avengers 4, I'm willing to bet he'll die in Avengers 4. But I'm very interested to see how he plays out in Infinity War, to be honest. It's going to be very interesting to see how he has a role in that. But yeah, I think for sure Hawkeye. What do you think about Scarlet Witch? You think she might die?
I don't know. I mean, I could see her being one of the frontliners of, the new Avengers once, the oldies pretty much get out of the way.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm not sure about her. I don't know if they want to pull another Quicksilver stunt, which is to say, to kill off such a fresh character. I mean, Wanda has only, even in Age of Ultron, I felt like she didn't really get her time to shine. That was in Civil War. And I would like to see more of her character, so it'd be kind of disappointing for me to be like, oh, she was really cool in Civil War. Now she's dead. I really want to see her expand a bit more as a character.
Yeah.
So I really want to say they're going to keep her around.
Yeah. So I guess next we could do is you're not going to be late to work, are you, Alex? Because if you're late to work, you can just go before, or you can just let me know.
5, and it's only 4:07, so I got a little bit more time.
Okay. How long does it take you to get to work?
I'm right down the street, but I still got to go get dressed and stuff.
Oh, okay. Let's wrap this up, and then Alex can get off to work because he's got to make that moolah. Anyway, so let's go on. So I'm gonna let Alex go ahead and take this one because my list is pretty short. So this is the spot that was going to take the MCU reboot. So now we're gonna finish off with our favorite MCU moments of all time. So Alex, you can go ahead. I did a top 5, but I have some honorable mentions, but I won't stick that long just for time's sake. But go ahead, Alex. You can go ahead and mention your favorite MCU moments.
Yeah, my 5 favorite MCU moments, not really in any order, because they're pretty fucking bipolar when it comes to tone and mood and all that. So I'm just gonna list them off randomly. one of them is in Thor Ragnarok when you have that play with Matt Damon and all that.
Oh my god,
That
I
was
remember.
funny as fuck. And then you hear Anthony Hopkins be like, "Oh shit." That was a good laugh. Another is Kilgrave's escape in Jessica Jones season 1, episode 11, when he tells his mother to stab herself multiple times, and
Oh yeah.
it's just so fucking. Like I said, it's really bipolar on the tone. But yeah, his mother's stabbing herself, and then the dad's like, "Oh, please," and he's like, "Don't be like that, Dad. Pick up the scissors." It's really fucked up. And just it was so brilliant to see Kilgrave just desperately get the fuck out of there. And I thought Trish was gonna die for a split second when he says, "Put a bullet in your skull, Patsy." Oh, that fucked me up.
Oh yeah.
Hardcore.
I was really convinced that
Another
she was
one,
gonna die.
probably. Well, this is the most classic one. Iron Man in the cave. You know, when Tony Stark gets kidnapped by the terrorists, basically.
That's a good one.
You know, Osama bin Laden's group, and they're like, you know, make missiles for us, and then he makes the suit, and there's the other scientist talking about his family. That's just it's classic as fuck, and it still holds up to this day. So there's another one. Then I would say Civil War. I really like in Civil War the debates. I mean, yeah, the airport fight's all cool and all that, but I really liked when the team was just at the table, talking back and forth, being like, well, this is why this should happen. We need to sign up with the government. Oh, no, we can't do that because people have agendas. I think that's even more interesting than just the fighting.
Mm.
So that's another personal favorite of mine. And for my final one, this is a bit cliche, obviously, but, you know, the end of the Avengers when they all come together and they kick ass and shit. It's so cool seeing Thor and Captain America and then Thor and Hulk throw down against mindless alien bitches kicking their ass. You know, that's just that's like 12-year-old me. My mind was fucking blown. So those are my 5 moments.
Those are really good. I like the Kilgrave one. That Kilgrave, totally forgot about that Kilgrave one. That was a really fucked up episode if I remember that one, because he was literally locked in the cage.
Fucked up, but it was so great too.
Yeah. That was a good list. The Iron Man one, I remember seeing Iron Man for the first time. I think it was 8. I had no fucking idea what I was going into. And then I was convinced Tony Stark was real. I was like, no fucking way this dude is not real. I was like, I'm going to build a suit one day just like that. And now I'm here in college, broke as fuck. But yeah, so I'm going to move on to my favorite MCU moments. I do have honorable mentions, so I guess I'm going to start there. Daredevil, the "What is it like to be a hero" scene. It's the one where Karen Page narrates over, and it's just like the Punisher blowing up his house, and Daredevil walking with a fucking bag in his hand, and he tells Karen, "I'm Daredevil," and she's like, "What?" I like that scene just because the narration and stuff, and I thought it was a pretty cool speech. The second one it's a mix between the Daredevil season 1. It's Kingpin and Daredevil when they first talk on the walkie-talkie. It's the Russian scene where they had the police surrounding the building and shit. And then where they first meet, the fight scene. That one was pretty cool. That fight scene was pretty cool. And then the Punisher, the final fight scene. The final fight scene between Billy Russo and Frank Castle. I thoroughly enjoyed that scene. Although the mirror scene fucked me up. I was like, holy shit, I did not expect. He literally threw his head on the mirror, and then he shoved his head into a mirror basically. And I was like, that's insane. I was like, that's insane. That was just insane for me. And then Jessica Jones, where Hope kills herself. I don't know if you remember that part. I think she stabs herself, right? Or she like hangs herself, or no?
Yeah, she stabs herself in the throat. And then Kilgrave makes all the hostages hang themselves.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes. I was like, whoa, that's intense. Like, Jessica Jones went through a lot. She saved the people who hang themselves, and then she went to Hope, and she was like, now that I'm dead, you gotta kill Kilgrave. And she was like, fuck, I really gotta kill Kilgrave now. The second one was Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the Power Stone scene of Ronan, where Ronan the Destroyer, whatever the fuck you want to call him, where they all hold hands and shit, and then he's like, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch. I just like that scene. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. And then the Spider-Man boat scene with Iron Man. I like that scene simply because it felt like the universe was an actual comic book universe. Like, if I was reading through a comic book and I saw that, it felt very comic book like. Like, that could actually happen in the comic book, and I was like, wow, the universe feels a lot bigger now. Now to my actual favorite MCU moments. Again, this is in no specific order. This is the first one is the Winter Soldier scene, which is where he goes, "The price of freedom is high, and the price I'm willing to pay. It's a price I'm willing to pay." That's the Captain America scene where he's talking over. He's like, Hydra's infiltrated Shield and stuff. And then the fight scene with Black Widow and Winter Soldier tossing the knife back and forth. That is one of the best comic book movie fight scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Like, I've never seen something super choreographed like that. That was insane. Especially when Winter Soldier's like tossing his knife back and forth and grabbing it in one hand and punching him with the other one. The Doctor Strange mirror dimension fight scene, I thought that was pretty cool. I like the effects in that one. The Black Panther Tokyo scene with Ulysses Claw, one of my favorite actors and favorite characters in the MCU. I really like that scene. I thought that whole scene was gorgeous. Another scene is the Avengers Assemble scene, so similar to Alex's. I thought that one was pretty cool. I was like, wow, like, imagine the Justice League, and here we are now, 2018, and Justice League is not what we expected. So that still holds up. And the Civil War Baron Zemo scene where he's telling Black Panther, like, oh, I was trying to break them apart from the inside. I thought that was, when I first saw Civil War, I didn't like that. I didn't like Baron Zemo just being a guy. I thought that was stupid. I thought that was the worst thing Marvel could ever done. I was very disappointed. But rewatching Civil War after rewatching all the MCU movies, like right now I have to watch Black Panther before Infinity War. Seeing that in Civil War, I was like, that was actually really well done. And that kind of redeemed Civil War for me, seeing Baron Zemo as just a guy. So I really like how he was just a guy and he brought down the Avengers. Like, think about like a guy walking on the street. That guy could bring down the Avengers, is what basically they showed, and I thought that was amazing. And then the last one is very touching, is the I Am Iron Man scene, where Tony Stark flat out goes, I am Iron Man. I was mind blown. I was like, did he just reveal his origin, his identity to the public? I'd never seen anybody do that before. I was jumping in and out of my seat when I was the 8-year-old kid I was. I was just like, whoa. Like, he just flat out went, I am Iron Man. I'm like, whoa, there goes your fucking secret identity. This dude's going to die in the next movie. And then little did we know, the end credit scene was to set up the Avengers scene. And I was like, wow. Like, holy shit. That was insane. My dad took me to the first Iron Man movie. And I remember sitting in my seat being like, Dad, are the Avengers going to come? And he's like, no. And I'm like, that's disappointing. And then we see the end credit scene. I'm like, oh my God, the Avengers are coming. But yeah. 10 years does a lot to you when 10 years is over. But that's my list. How do you feel? I guess the last question we can ask is, how do you feel about going into Infinity War after all these 10 years, Alex, after all these fucking movies? How do you feel like have stuff change and stuff, I guess?
What was the question?
Oh, like, how do you feel like comic book movies and how, like, the MCU has progressed over the last 10 years?
Well, it's definitely dipped more into the fiction, category. I mean, Iron Man, all things considered, of course, it remained a rather somewhat realistic-ish movie.
Yeah.
The Iron Man suit was even treated in a much more real way. And the same thing kind of was with the Hulk and all that. It had a more real vibe to it. And as we progressed, we went more into the goofier aspects of it, more into the, this is a comic book for sure. So it's definitely changed. It's obviously gotten a lot more lighthearted and kid-friendly, and that's that's no coincidence. Obviously, Disney had a part to play in that. But at the same time, I think they've kept a fair balance. You've had a good share of adult favorite content, and most movies, I would say, all ages are going to enjoy, But overall, I love the MCU, and, it's done a really good job of progressing and growing.
And I guess the final question is, are you excited for Infinity War? That's a very obvious question, but yeah.
Well, shit, I didn't study for this. Yes?
No, I'm really looking forward to Infinity War. I honestly think that's going to be one of the best cinematic moments in history, especially with all these characters in it. I'm very excited for Infinity War and see how the ending's going to play out. Yeah, it's going to be one hell of an event, and this is the last episode of recording before Infinity War, so we'll be back next week either with the review or the following week, so I'm not quite sure But yeah, Alex, I guess you can give your final words on this. We're gonna wrap this thing up, considering you do have to go to work, and I feel bad.
Yeah, I mean, next week it's gonna be fucking lit. We're gonna have like our Infinity War virginity's taken, and I'm hyped as fuck to come back and be like, oh shit, you know, when Thanos beat the shit out of Rocket Raccoon with Groot's arm, I was so sick, or some shit like that.
I watched that happen in the movie.
I'm really I'm going opening night. I might even do it. I might do it. Your friend's doing it. Do a double nighter on opening night, but I have no guarantees of that yet. But I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. Now, if Howard the Duck doesn't show up, I'm probably going to rate it a 0 out of 10. But I'm sure they won't make that mistake.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about Howard the Duck. Yeah, I'm very excited for Infinity War. 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Spidey colliding in this one big moment. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with the review. If not, we'll definitely be back the following week. But be prepared. Next week's gonna be very hectic. If you guys have made it, I know there's been some people who've made it towards the end. Last week I was told a couple of my friends that made it to the end. If you made it to the end, there is a video I've done for Infinity War. You can click in the link description below. It's one of my personal videos, and it's one of my favorite ones that I've ever created. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this thing up, you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this 5th episode. I think this is the 5th episode. This is a very special episode, simply because Infinity War is coming out, and obviously we're all excited here. But hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, or whenever you're seeing this. Hope you guys go see Infinity War opening weekend, because we're going to talk about this next week. So that'll be the only thing we'll probably talk about next week. We'll see what we do from there. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining me today. We will be back next week for sure, or not next for sure, but for sure we'll be talking about Infinity War the next time you see us. My name is Nicholas Light. I'm with my co-host Alex. Signing off. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I'm out. I mean, I can't wait to be here next week, unless for some reason I die tomorrow because it's 420, and we all know how that's gonna end up. So
I'm actually in San Francisco too.
You guys, unless I am murdered from being high, but I doubt that will happen. So yeah, be safe tomorrow, kids. Even though this is coming out after 420, be safe.
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco, so this is where Hippie Hill and stuff. But I'm leaving tomorrow to surprise my grandpa, and it's his birthday on 420, so happy birthday to my grandpa. Anyway.
Hey, he's getting lit.
Yeah, it's getting a little 420. Anyway, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Nicholas Light, with my co-host Alex. We will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.